The objective of this video is to go in and check out our precast configurations. In Revit, I want to open my Syracuse Commons model, which is in chapter 14. You can use any model you want, but if you're following along with me and have the downloads, go to Syracuse Commons. Click Open. Let's go to the Precast tab. Before we do anything, I'd like to go to Configuration. So click on Precast Configuration. Now what it's going to do, either it's going to give you a dialog saying it's going to sync these families, or it's just going to do it on its own. In my case, it's doing it on its own. So it's bringing all these families into the project. And some of them are getting upgraded. Our lifters, our bushings, nooses. It's bringing in some title blocks. Terrific, here we go. Now look at all of the choices. So precast concrete wall, solid wall. We can go into part. The lifters, you can either change it from a lifter to a noose. I'm going to keep it on a lifter. These minimum maximums are fine. Entry capacity. Side lifters if height exceeds 16 feet 4. Down to our connections. When it splits our wall up, what kind of connection is it going to put in there? There's a few different types of connections. I'm going to go with solid wall on all of this. Now for our segmentation. Minimum maximum wall lengths. Reinforcement. So rebar 2 layers. Let's go ahead and click on edit right here. Notice that it has steel bars or a mesh, either way. I'm going to keep it on steel bars. I do want them inside. We'll keep our cover offset to 0, so our cover offsets will actually be specified within the concrete element. For our rebar area inside, I'm going to bump that up to a number 4. And rebar area outside, let's change that to a number 4 as well. We'll keep them both at max distances. We have 2 steel bar tabs, and we can make more. So with the second tab, I'm going to change my rebar type again to number 4. Outside number 4. Keep it at max distances. So now we have our inside and our outside specified. See, position outside, steel bar, position inside. Perfect. Click OK. Now we can look at our shop drawings, what we're going to get. We can choose a different template. If you had another template loaded into your project, it would grab that. Our center of gravity. Basically, it's going to bring in a center of gravity tag. Dimension type. I'm going to use arrow 3/32 aerial. Now we can go into double walls, segmentations, and of course, slabs. So for our slab segmentation, we can keep our defaults. For reinforcement, we can edit that because it's the same stuff. Rebar type, number 4, bottom, number 4, number 4. Click OK. Now if we go into hollow core slabs, precast concrete plank, we're going to keep it at hollow core slab. The families are the default. Perfect. And of course our shop drawings for that. Notice that it says data folder location. It's going to throw us into the precast data folder. We can always change that by clicking on the browse button. We could change it to something else. I'm going to close out of here. Let's hit OK. There we go. Now we're all set with our configurations. There's a lot of choices in there, huh? Let's continue from our last video. We need to start treating our walls as if they are precast panels. That means we need to go past the point of no return. This step has to be done before any of the other steps can be performed. The objective of this video is to create precast assemblies of our walls by splitting them. It's going to be based on the distances we specified in our configurations dialog. Let's go to a 3D view, just so we can check out what we're looking at here. Zoom in on this wall here. Notice we've got a single opening in it. I think we'll copy this opening around, so let's go down to our basement level. In the project browser under structural plans, let's double click on basement. Zoom in on this wall here. Let's select our door opening. Click copy. Let's go multiple. Let's copy it up. I don't know about that far. We can copy it down a comparable distance. It was a little close to my column, so I'm going to select it. I'm just going to nudge it up a little bit. You can escape a couple times. Spin our 3D view. Now under segmentation, let's click the split button. Where this multiple is checked on, we can finish it or we can cancel it. What we're going to do is we're going to select this wall. Ready? Click finish. Cannot find valid position for all lifters. Manual action required. That's fine. So if we want to look at that, we can click show. It zooms in on it. We can expand it. Look at our warnings. Warning 2. You can kind of see where it's highlighted it. Click OK. There we have it. We've now made assemblies of our wall. So notice when we select it, it's actually broken down into parts. So this goes back to our typical parts editing commands. But for right now, I'm really happy with how it split my walls up. Continuing on from our first two videos, and now that we've chopped up our walls into panels, we can now start adding reinforcing. Of course, there are some settings that we should look at first. So let's do that, then add some rebar. Okay, in our Syracuse Commons model, I'm going to go to the Precast tab. And notice we have a reinforcement panel. If we click the reinforcement dropdown, we'll see we have CFS config. Basically what that is custom fabric sheet configuration. These rules will work with custom fabric sheets as well as reinforcement. I'm going to keep all of these defaults. I just want to show you where this is, especially the minimum overlapping settings. Usually these are on an inch or 25 millimeters. Click OK. Now let's click on the reinforcement button. Again, notice that we can select multiple items and we have a finish and cancel button here. We won't do them all. I'm just going to select this panel, maybe a couple other random panels. It doesn't look like they're selected, and it doesn't even show that anything's selected down here, but they are. So let's click Finish. I want to use the rebar 2 layers, and of course we can go to Edit, so we have another chance of actually resetting these. So my rebar area inside, for my rebar type, I want to change this to number 4 bars. For my rebar outside, I want to change this to number 4 bars. Now if we were to steel bar, the second one, notice this is the outside. Come here, that's the inside. Come here, that's the outside. So I'm going to change these to the same number 4s. Let's click OK. Click OK. And it's going to start putting them in. There we go. Now what's cool about it is if I hover over this wall, I hover over the rebar, notice that it's going to break around these openings. Hit escape a couple times. Notice that here we have enable set. So this is precast update. So anytime we change the shape or move an opening, that's going to update the rebar. The problem is it takes a while. So sometimes if you're working along and you're going to change a lot of stuff, you can disable that. And then once you turn enable back on, it'll perform the calculations. Let's click on the configuration button here. Notice that we have wall, solid wall, and we have reinforcement. Rebar 2 layers. If we click edit here, we can change these as defaults. So I can go to number 4, go to steel bar here, go number 4 to number 4. That way, when we add more reinforcing, these will become the default settings. Click OK here. Gonna click OK here. There we go. That's how we add reinforcement to precast panels. We used to have to add precast concrete plank manually, piece by piece. Now we don't have to. In this video, I'd like to pick on a slab. First, we'll need to do some quickie stuff, like starting with understanding the families we're actually using. So when we first started this chapter and we clicked on split, or when we went to our configuration, Revit loaded all the families that it needed. Let's go find where those families are though. If you open up Windows Explorer and go to your C drive, program data, Autodesk, Revit 2021, libraries, in the US Imperial or metric, and structural precast, we'll see that we have our families here. So if we go to custom slabs, we have a hollow core slab and just simply a round void that goes into it. Not too complex. If you open up the hollow core slab, it's in read-only, so I'll just open the file. We'll see it's nothing more than a basic extrusion with some basic voids loaded into it. Nothing fancy. I'm going to close out of here though. And I want to find it in our project because like I said, we loaded it a while ago. So in the project browser, scroll down to families, scroll down to generic models. Now scroll down to hollow core slab. That's the name of that family. Let's double click on default. Let's just rename it. Click rename. Let's call it typical plank. And the reason I'm doing this is so we can identify it later in our configuration dialog. Click OK. Click OK. Perfect. Now let's do that. Let's go to our configuration dialog. Click on configuration right here. Now under precast, we have concrete walls, solid walls, multi-layered walls, but now down in slab, we have solid slab, we have hollow core slab. So the hollow core family, let's make sure we're using hollow core slab. And let's make sure that we're using the typical plank type. Remember, we just changed that. The division profile is going to show up where our plank actually meets the other plank, how it ties in. Profile A, we use hollow core slab profile A. Our minimum width I have set to 6 inches or 152 millimeters. We can keep it there. And our segmentation gap, I've got it set to a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters. Notice down here, our data folder is that folder directory we just went to. Click OK. So I'm going to select this slab, and I want to make sure that I hit the drop down here. I'm going to put it on 6-inch concrete. Takes a second. Let's click Edit Type. And let's click Duplicate. I'm going to thicken it up a little bit. Let's make it 8-inch concrete. Click OK. For the structure, click Edit. For the thickness, let's make it 8 inches. Click OK. Click OK. Let's go to the Precast tab. Let's split this up. Click on Split. For the floor type, we have hollow core, solid, or girder slab. I'm going to go with hollow core slab. Let's click OK. It's trying to create the holes. Now it's trying to create all parts. I've been having a little bit of trouble with this one coming out of the box. But let's see. If you get a warning, it said no voids were found. That's okay. Hit OK. Now it breaks up our hollow core plank. Looks like it pulled the holes out of it. But we have what I want to see here, and that's how this is going to break on the ends here. There you have it. That's your hollow core concrete plank. Okay, this is my favorite part of the entire chapter. Revit can now simply spit out shop drawings with plans, elevations, isometrics, and schedules. So let's do that. Let's create some shop drawings of the panel with the window in it. And our favorite Syracuse Commons model, let's go to our Precast tab. On the Fabrication panel, let's click Shop Drawings. Same thing, we can select multiple elements. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab this assembly. I don't know, maybe this one. Click finish. It's gonna start creating a bunch of views. You don't like the dimension type family, but that's fine. Click OK. I mean, that's not cool. So we get our center of gravity. We have reinforcing. If we double click on this viewport, hover over some of these items, we can tab onto it. Select our little solid wall bushing. And of course, this is our reinforcing. Escape a couple times. Here's a section through it. Double click off of that viewport. We have a rebar list. I'm just going to nudge everything up and over just to make sure it fits on the sheet so it looks nice. Oh yeah, that's sweet. A nice little isometric. Go ahead and double click on it. We have our solid wall assemblies. If we change our visual style to realistic, right, here's our concrete. Here's how it gets beveled. So all of our parts are right in here. Here's another solid wall sheet. Jump over this one. This one's even cooler because this one has our giant opening in it. Of course, our rebar list is pretty long. Cut that in half. See if we can't nudge it up. Pull that down. That's what I'm talking about. Nudge it down a little bit more. Center of gravity. Here's our isometric. Double click on the viewport. Set to realistic. That's a lot of pretty cool modeling we don't have to do anymore, right? Double click off of it here. And there you have it. That's how you make yourself a shop drawing.